Yehova Eloheinu Zvaot. Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh. Please fill me and lead me and cover me with your Ruach HaKodesh, that I may speak your written words with boldness to those who listen. I ask all these things in Yeshua HaMashiach's name. Amen. We'll start with the Shema, listen and obey. Children of Yehovah, pay careful attention and respond. Yehovah is our power and authority. Yehovah works in unity with himself, and you shall act upon your love to Yehovah with your power and authority, with your thoughts in mind, with your entire body, and with all the muchness that you have. Yod, Hey, Vav, Hey. Hand, behold, nail, behold. Judges chapter 20. All the people of Israel came out from Dan to Beersheba, including Gilad. The communities assembled with one accord before Yehovah at Mitzvah. The leaders of all the tribes of Israel presented themselves in the assembly of the people of God. 400,000 foot soldiers armed with swords. Now the people of Benjamin heard that the people of Israel had gone up to Mitzvah. The people of Israel said, "Tell us, how was this crime committed?" The Levi, the husband of the murdered woman, answered, "I came to Yehuvah, which belongs to Benjamin, I and my concubine, to stay the night. And the men of Yehuvah attacked me and surrounded the house I was staying in at night. They wanted to kill me, but instead they raped my concubine to death. I took my concubine's body, cut it into pieces, and sent them throughout all the territories belonging to Israel, because they committed shockingly obscene and degrading crime in Israel. Look, you are all the people of Israel, so discuss what to do and give your advice here and now." All the people of Israel stood up in agreement and said, "None of us will go home to his tent or to his house. What we will do now to Yehuvah is this. We'll draw lots. We'll take 10 men out of each 100 throughout all the tribes of Israel, and 100 out of all 1,000, and 1,000 out of 10,000 to collect food for the others. When these came to Yehuvah and Benjamin, they will avenge the crime that was committed." Thus all the men of Israel joined together in complete agreement, assembled to attack the city. The tribes of Israel sent men throughout all the tribe of Benjamin with this message: "What is this crime committed by some of your people? Turn over those good-for-nothings who are in Yehuvah at once, so that we can execute them and rid Israel of such evil." But the people of Benjamin refused to obey the order, and their kinsmen, the people of Israel. Instead, the people of Benjamin gathered themselves together from their cities and went to Yehuvah to fight the people of Israel. On that day, there were 26,000 men from Benjamin armed with swords, besides the inhabitants of Yehuvah, who numbered 700 specifically chosen men. All of these 700 specifically picked men were left-handed, and every one could sling a stone at a hair and not miss. The army of Israel, apart from Benjamin, numbered 400,000 men with swords. They were all experienced soldiers. The army of Israel began by going up to Beit El, where they asked God, "Who should go up first to attack the army of Benjamin?" Yehovah said, "Yehuda first." So the army of Israel got up in the morning and set up their camp near Yehuvah. Then the army of Israel went out to attack Benjamin and set up their battle line in front of Yehuvah. But the army of Benjamin came out of Yehuvah and slaughtered the army of Israel. On that day, 22,000 men fell. The people of the men of Israel restored their morale and again positioned themselves for battle where they had been the first day. Then the army of Israel went up and cried before Yehovah until evening. They asked Yehovah, "Should we attack our kinsmen, the people of Benjamin, again?" Yehovah answered, "Attack them." So the army of Israel went out to attack the army of Benjamin the second day. But Benjamin went out against them from Yehuvah the second day and slaughtered the people of Israel. 18,000 men armed with swords fell. Then the whole army of Israel, all the people, went up to Beit El and cried and sat there in the presence of Yehovah. They fasted that day until evening, offered burnt offerings and peace offerings to Yehovah, and asked Yehovah what to do. The ark of the covenant of God was there at that time. And Pinchas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, stood before it at that time. They asked, "Should we still go out to battle against our kinsmen, the people of Benjamin, or should we stop?" Yehova answered, "Attack, because tomorrow I will hand them over to you." Israel hid some men around Giva, and on the third day Israel attacked the army of Benjamin and took a possession against Giva, as they had the other times. Again, the army of Benjamin went out against the people, lured away from the city. They began attacking and killing some of the people as they had the other times. They killed about 30 men of Israel in the countryside and on the roads, one of which goes up to Bet El, and the other to Giva. The army of Benjamin said, "They're defeated, just as before." But the army of Israel said, "Let's run off and draw them away from the city onto the roads." All the men of Israel left their places and took up battle positions at Baal Tamar, while the other Israel men burst out of their hiding places at Marah Giva. 10,000 men chosen of all Israel came out to attack Giva, and the combat was intense. But the army of Benjamin didn't know that they were about to be defeated, for Yehova routed Benjamin in Israel's presence. That day the army of Israel destroyed 25,100 men of Benjamin, all whom carried swords, and the people of Benjamin realized they had been beaten. The men of Israel, trusting the ones they had put in place to ambush Benjamin, gave ground to the men of Benjamin. Then the men who had been lying in wait rushed in on Giva, drew their swords, and destroyed the city. The army of Israel and the ambushers had agreed that as a signal, they would make a huge cloud of smoke rise from the city, at which time the men of Israel would come back. When this happened, Benjamin began to attack. They killed about 30 of Israel's men and said, "Clearly we're defeated them again, as in the first battle." But when the smoke signal began rising from the city, the men of Benjamin looked behind them and saw the whole city going up to the sky in smoke. Then, as the men of Israel reversed direction, those of Benjamin were overcome with terror. When they saw that disaster had come upon them, they turned their backs on the men of Israel and made for the road to the desert. But the battle followed them, and those who came out of the city destroyed them from the rear. They surrounded the men of Benjamin, chased them, and trampled them down across from Giva on the east. 18,000 men of Benjamin fell, all of them experienced soldiers. They turned and fled toward the desert to the rock of Rimmon, and 5,000 of them were killed on the roads. They followed them to Gidom and killed another 2,000. Thus the total number of Benjamin who fell that day was 25,000 experienced sword-bearing soldiers. But 600 turned and fled toward the desert to the rock of Rimmon, and lived there 4 months. The men of Israel turned their back on the people of Benjamin and killed them with the sword, the entire city, the cattle, and everything they found. Moreover, they set on fire all the cities they encountered. How can we learn to love our Creator after reading this bloody 20th chapter of Judges? We can unite before Yehova for direction. Seek justice that is pleasing before Yehova. Trust that Yehova is our perfect avenger. Stand up in agreement to obey the written words of Yehova. Aim to be used by Yehova. Seek the directions of Yehova. Obey the written words of Yehova. Cry out to Yehova for specific directions. Cry out and fast in the presence of Yehova while offering up obedience to Him. Seek Yehova and His direction. How can we love others as Yeshua loves us? We can encourage others. We can encourage unity, trust, fasting, and obedience. And bear one another's burdens. We can trust and obey Yehova alone, and fast for unity with family. Produce spiritual fruit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, humility, self-control. End with the Aaronic blessing using the name. Yehova will kneel before you presenting gifts, and He will guard you with a hedge of protection. Yehova will illuminate the wholeness of His being toward you, bringing order, and He will provide you with love, sustenance, and friendship. Yehova will lift up the wholeness of His being and look upon you and will set in place all you need to be whole and complete.